what was the Rogan experience like? I mean, I feel like when people make it to that show, it's not that I feel like you're actually late. Like I feel like Joe's late to getting on you, but I feel like usually for a comic, you get on Joe and then all these doors open up. I feel like pretty much all the doors are already open for you, but is that still a big moment to make it to that podcast?
Yeah, it was huge. I mean, I'm friends with so many of his friends, and then I never really got to meet him. And I mean, dude, he's the greatest dude ever. I mean, it's worth so much money now, but just is a comic and like just wants to be a comic. And I was getting told that Giannis, I talked to like Giannis, Pappas, and Norman, who's done the show, just to be like, hey, what is it like? Is it, I don't know him. Is it kind of, how is it? It's like, Giannis said it good. He's like, look, dude, I think he just likes to do that podcast because it's like, it's the only time he gets to like, just like his phone gets to be off and he gets to like hang out with a comic and talk comedy. And so, yeah, I was going to do that. So, yeah, it was huge. It was a huge thing to get to do. I mean, it's such a big show and he was just good. I have a story with him, which was good is because when I first started comedy, I was in Chicago and we went to the Comedy Store in LA. I had a friend that was in a band called the Prom Kings, and they were so we just go to see him at the band, and Rogan liked their band, and so I met Rogan when I was maybe a year into comedy because of them. And then I wanted to go up at the Comedy Store and do an open mic, but when you signed up for an open mic at the Comedy Store, you had to sign up the week before for the next week. And so Rogan was like, "Are you going to go do the open mic?" And I was like, "Well, we're leaving, so I can't." And I wasn't asking him for anything. And he's like, "Oh, I'll call and I'll get you up." Yeah. And so he called. And so one of the first places I got to perform was at the Comedy Store. And they brought me up as Joe Rogan's best friend. And I was like, I don't even really know the guy. And he was on, he's on Fear Factor, and so it was, I mean, that was a big thing. I mean, it was a big part.
You said the first time you performed?
Not the first time I performed, but I was a year in the comedy. So it was really the first kind of club. Yeah. Chicago Zanies and the Comedy Store, the first two clubs I ever got to do a show at.
And it was just because you were friends of friends and he was like, I gotcha.
Yeah. Just cool dude. And was like, and I talked to him, asked him a lot of questions about comedy, and he would like talk to you about it, comedy. And, and I'm like a new comic, like, it's like if someone talked to you guys about like doing podcasts now and you'd be like, or something, and you'd be like, I don't know, man, I've done it forever now. You don't really have all the answers for someone brand new because you're just too far kind of ahead. And you can talk about it all day, but they're not even going to really understand what you're saying. Right. And so it was like, I was, I'm asking him like open mic questions, like, what do you got to do? And like, how do you got to, and he's like, you got to go up, you got to just, it was very nice and didn't like blow me off. Like, I mean, we went to the show, to the band show, and he sat there and talked to me for a long time. Mm-hmm. And then, I mean, it always really stuck with me. And it was cool.
I think that's at this time you have the Bieber haircut and the puka shell necklace.
I don't even think I'm to that yet. I don't think I'm even successful enough to get to that. Yeah, I don't think I could afford a puka necklace at that point. And so we were working our way up to the southern swoop of just,
the southern
swooping back. Like I would dream of those days, I was like, Justin Bieber's probably not even born yet.
That's crazy. I think that's what it is with Rogan. That interaction you had with him, I think translates into like his show where he's mega wealthy and mega like powerful at this point. But when you listen, it doesn't really come across like he really is just like having a conversation about the shit he likes to talk about. So he could be rich, he could be poor, he could be one listener or 100 million listeners. It just always kind of feels the same way when he talks about it. And I think it's funny that he seems to be the one who can maintain that, when I think every other comic podcaster, when they get a little bit of fame or a little bit of success, they radically change. And it's like the one dude who doesn't is probably the one guy who had the right to, because he did it so well,
Everybody we talked about it. Yeah, we talked about that yesterday, I think, on the podcast, where it's like you always feel like when you do theaters and all those people there to see you, and then you're like, who are they here to see? You always have this idea, you're like, who are they watching? And you forget it's you.
Right.
And it's like, and so we were talking about that, like that, and kind of you feel like an imposter. And like, I think he was even saying, like, I think you need to have that. You don't need to be like, yeah, they're here to see me because I'm great. You got to have that, like, where you're like, I don't know if I can, people are like, got a babysitter. They're buying like drinks at the bar. And, the same way you would go see the Nutcracker, they're like watching you. And so then it's like you kind of forget because it's just such a weird.
But isn't it
thing.
there? Like, isn't it like I feel that way with what we do. It's very strange where it's like we just have a mic and we're in a studio with a couple of us and you trust that the audience hopefully is pretty big out there, but you don't really get that feeling because it's not tangible. When you go to a theater and you see a few thousand people, I mean, there's no denying it, dude. Like they love you. There's thousands of people there. You
just don't know if you're good enough though. Like you feel, it's like, you're like, are you going to let everybody down? Are you it's like, you never get used to it. And, but I mean, that's what makes you guys great too. Like y'all still got the grind of what you were when you said Barstool Sports and someone was like, I don't know what that is. And now y'all are like, people talk to y'all about, y'all like you're on ESPN. Like, I mean, they just talk about Barstool Sports today, that you say it to anybody and they know. And so like, but if y'all lose that, no one's going to want to watch.
I know.
So it's like, funny. You got to have that. You're still chasing and you're still trying to feel like you're having to earn this audience. And that's why people listen, as many people that listen to you guys is because you guys give that off, and that's a very real feeling, an authentic feeling, because everybody is in this world, dude, of like, they get, people get famous, like, in Hollywood's like, they're just delusional. Like they're not real people. They don't have any regular people in their life. I always talk about that. Like, you got to have a regular person in your life. You got to have someone, if you're like, I bought 2 Teslas, you need someone to be like, what, dude? Like, that's like, like, I don't even, they can't wrap their head around it. You can't just have people, it's like, we're going to fly to wherever today in private. And someone's like, I'm on Southwest, dude. Like, I don't even know. I'm in the C group. Like, I mean,
I'm just hoping to get a chair somewhere.
I'm just hoping I might be standing.